What's up, YouTube? It's Baker. Welcome back to Blue Line Morphs. If you're new to the channel, guys, we're a new ball python breeding channel. We post every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. I try to go live often, just kind of get that in. I really like those live sessions. I'm a reptile enthusiast that I've made the transition over into breeding ball pythons, specializing in clowns, pieds, puzzles, and coral glow combinations. So if you're new to the channel, welcome, guys. Definitely give me a thumbs up. I have an Instagram channel, blue_line_morphs, and a Facebook page. Everything's doing well, guys. It's Friday, September 11th, 2020. And judging by the title, you're probably going to know what this video is about. It's really not about snakes, just like my Instagram post today. You know, no snakes today, you never forget. So today's video, before I even get into it, it's going to be my 9/11 story, okay? I think it's important to remember that day. It's important to remember where you were, right? There's all the songs, when the world stood still, where were you? I'm going to tell you my story, how I was impacted by it as a kid, and honestly now as a New York City police detective, how it impacts me, what I've seen, and what it means to Americans, New Yorkers, and stuff like that. It's just, this is going to be a rant video. If you're not interested, move on. Keep it moving. I don't know what to tell you. Everything's doing really well, guys. Tomorrow's video on Saturday is going to be about my African soft fur experiences with the rats, raising them, breeding them, what I've experienced so far, the ups and the downs, what I'm going to change. So I've gotten a lot of questions about ASFs, a lot of advice about ASFs. So I'm going to go over all that tomorrow for Saturday's video. I'm going to start incorporating the rats into the YouTube channel and the social media aspect. You guys know I'm growing this big guy out over here. He's like this big. You'll see him tomorrow's video. He's great. Hope everyone had a great week. Got through Labor Day. Whatever. Anyway, I'm winging this, guys. I didn't think about this. I'm just going to give you my exact memories. What I remember thinking, things that stood out to me over the past 20 years. And then kind of my take on what's going on now and what we need to learn from it and stuff like that. So it's not really snake orientated at all, other than my big poster here, but it is what it is. Anyway, so I was in, obviously we know what happened, right? September 11th, 2001. I was in 8th grade, 7th or 8th grade. I was in Miss Maynard's class. And it was around second period or third period. And I had it for like living environment, some sort of science class. I don't remember exactly what it was. I remember sitting, and my desk was the first row, the second one back was Baker, right? B.A. By the way, a lot of people think Baker's my first name. My name is not Baker. My name is Devin Baker. Or you can call me Baker. I don't care. Anyway, so I was the second row, first row, second thing back. And the principal had walked over to the class, asked her to step outside. Miss Maynard was an older teacher. She had been around for a while, so I guess she was one of the leaders, I guess you could say. Asked her to step out. They spoke briefly in the hallway, and then she stepped back in. Her face was just like white as a ghost. And, of course, when, you know, kids were 7th, 8th grade, we 12, 13, 14 years old, you know, depending how dumb you are or whatever the case may be. Rumors start swirling, right? Things start happening. And ultimately, we got dismissed from Oregon Middle School. I remember we kind of had an idea that something crashed. We kind of had an idea that something was wrong, just by the way the adults were like acting and moving around. They weren't giving us any information. I mean, we were kids to begin with, I get that, but they weren't giving us any information. They were being super distant and like weird. Ultimately, we got the bus. We got home early. I think we got home by like afternoon. Then my mom was working, right? So she hit me up. She called me. She said, you know, she called me on the house phone. She knew I was home. I called. I answered. She goes, stay home. You know, don't turn the TV on. Just stay home. And me being a 13-year-old, I turned the TV on. I remember seeing. No, I'm wrong. I got home just as the towers were falling. So I don't know what time exactly that was. 9 o'clock, like 8, 9 o'clock, right? I should have the times on hand, but I don't. So around 9 o'clock, I guess, is when I got home. And I remember turning the TV on. She told me not to. I remember seeing the towers just after they fell. The newscaster was just at a loss. They weren't really saying anything on the news, right? It was live coverage, but they were just like staring at you and watching. I remember seeing images of the smoke billowing out, the debris billowing out. I remember the newscaster talking about people passing, you know, the firefighters, the cops, and the people in the buildings, and I hope everyone got out okay. And, you know, it really didn't register at first because I was a kid. Then I remember jumping on the computer and going on AIM. You guys remember that? Like the little instant message, AOL instant messenger. You know, I think I was the Fighting Irish 69. You know, whatever. It is what it is. So I remember being on there and people were messaging me and like talking to me and like I remember my friend Katie was like, "Oh, I heard it's gonna be like World War III. There's all this bombings, all this stuff. All these rumors were swirling and swirling and swirling and swirling." And as the media started to gather more information, it kind of started to come out, the hijacking and all that, especially because the Pentagon crash and the Pennsylvania crash. But we went to school, I think 2 days after that, and I remember going to school. And I think they gave us 2 days off or a day off. I remember going to school and a lot of kids weren't there. And it never really registered. I just got the chills. It never really registered why they weren't there until later on in life. And the reality was there was a lot of firefighters, a lot of firefighters' children, a lot of cops' children, and a lot of people that worked down in the financial district. So a lot of those kids that were down there that weren't coming to schools because they lost their parents. So I remember my class being half full. I remember the school being half full. I remember teachers not being there because they had kids that were firefighters or kids that worked in the World Trade Centers or down in the financial district. I remember the school being really eerie and empty and echoey. Like, we were in the hallways and normally kind of get muffled because all those bodies like muffled the noise, but it kind of just echoed off the walls. And I just remember thinking, "Oh, well, where's everybody? I wish I could stay home." But now thinking about it, it's like they lost it, their dad or their mom or their significant other, whatever the case may be. So a lot of my friends had dads that I came from Patchogue Medford School District, Pat Med. It's blue collar, working class. A lot of firefighters in there, a lot of cops in there. Obviously, 343 firefighters lost their lives, and I would say a good handful was in Pat Med in my grade. And my buddy Matt Healy, his dad passed away. We renamed the road after his dad. But yeah, I remember that. And I remember the couple weeks after that, we would go food shopping with my mom. And we were having issues getting like milk and dairy and bread, things that were not imported, but they weren't letting a lot of like trucks go through to deliver the food items or deliver items in general. And I remember like not having eggs, not having bread, not having milk. Poor me, right? People lost their lives. But I remember that and thinking, "No, I don't understand why we can't have this stuff, blah, blah, blah." And kind of being on lockdown in school. Everyone was on edge. And then I remember going to the range with my dad, archery range. You guys saw me on social media. I've been bow hunting since I was, 9 years old. This is part of my life, Smith Point Archery, right? I remember going on the range, and this is when the Osama bin Laden thing came out, and he was taking credit for it. And it was after the speech that George Bush. I actually remember watching the speech where I don't know if you guys know it, but he had the megaphone. He was speaking to a bunch of firefighters and people, ground zero workers, and he was like, they're like, "I can't hear you," and he was like, "Well, I can hear you. The world can hear you." And the people that knock these towers, these buildings down, will hear all of us soon, right? Remember as a kid seeing that, my dad's cheering and clapping, right? And now the significance when I watched it, I post it every year on Facebook and it gives me chills to this day. But I remember down at the range, they made an Osama bin Laden target with an X over his head because George Bush gave a speech where they're like, "Well, what's your plan with Osama bin Laden?" And he was like, "Well, I'm just going to tell you that I really liked the old Western movie Dead or Alive." And they were like, "Oh, what does that mean?" And he was like, "I like that movie a lot." So we had a big target that Jeff down there was selling, where it was a big Osama bin Laden, with a with a bullseye over his face. It says "Dead or Alive" on the top. Flash forward now, guys. 19 years later, New York City detective, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Our city, New York City. I mean, it's new. I can't curse anymore, right? But it's new city, new effing New York, and I wouldn't have it any other way being a New York City police officer, right? There's better law enforcement jobs out there, stuff like in Nassau and Westchester, and all these. They pay more and they do less and they kind of hang out. It's better life. It really just is, right? It's just that simple. But the prestige and the bravado that goes along with wearing my patch. I should actually have a shirt on, but going along wearing that patch is huge, and I think it stems from that day. I remember seeing the firefighters and the cops. And like these guys they were different. My grandfather was a Suffolk County police officer, retired from Suffolk County, 20 years, right? 68 to 88. And 3/4, right? God bless. But that patch is great, right? I call it the pizza patch, the red and the yellow patch of Suffolk County. And that's great. That's a great job. It's a noble profession. But these NYPD police officers and these FDNY guys, I remember seeing their patches, and they just were ingrained in my head to be different. They were like heroes. They were above and beyond. They were on TV. They're like celebrities to me. I remember as a kid seeing the patches going through like Manhattan, going to a play or going to Rockefeller Center, whatever the case may be, and seeing these patches, seeing these cops on a football, seeing these firefighters hanging out, right, as usual, right, Mike, right, Porter, except for that day, right? But and thinking, wow, they're somebody. You know what I mean? Those guys are different. They're not just cops. Those are NYPD cops. Those aren't just firefighters. Those are FDNY guys, right? That are 9/11 heroes. We're the 9/11 generation, right? At 32 years old, we'll be 32 in 3 weeks. But that's our generation. And even to this day, like, when you walk into every precinct, you have it. When you walk into my precinct in the 6-7, you walk into the tunnel, and there's a big sign above that's actually an American flag, and the flag is written out so that all the names of people lost in there, especially the first responders, are on there. The significance of that is huge. You know, every precinct, you have the memories of it. Even today, my inspector gave a big speech about, you know, in memorial for 9/11, and it's just made a huge impact on my life in general, especially with my profession going forward. But I just want to make a comment too. I remember as a kid, on September 12th, 2001, the 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, then when things kind of got back to normal sports, everybody was an American, right? You had Sammy Sosa, right? Remember, he grabbed the little American flag and he sprinted around, right? Waving it in front of everyone. Everyone went nuts. Then you had Mike Piazza had a home run, right, for the Mets, right, with the NYPD hat on. We all came together. Everyone was waving American flags. And regardless of race or nationality or creed, or religion, whatever, you know, sexual orientation, we were all Americans, red, white, and blue. And it took an event like that. And we always joke around and say, like, I want the America back on September 12th, 2001, right? We all came together. And now, obviously, there's all these crazy divides and all these political agendas and all that. I'm never going to get into it on this channel. I'll never do that to you guys. I will have conversations with you on the side if you want, but I just wish that all this stuff can just pass. We can get back to just being Americans and stop pushing political agendas at people and stop pushing things at people. Get back to that September 12th, 2001 America, where everyone was proud, right? Everyone had the American flag everywhere. Everyone cared about everybody, right? You bump into somebody's store, oh, sorry, bro, you all right? You know what I'm saying? And everyone's kind of back to being typical New Yorkers, right? I think Robin Williams had a great skit where he talked about how after 9/11, everybody was like, you know, very nice on New York. How you doing? How you doing? Oh, how you doing? And then once we returned back to normal, New Yorkers got back to our attitude. We bump into somebody, take a swing at them. But I remember seeing that as a kid. Everyone was proud to be an American. Everyone was rocking the flags. Every house on the block had a flag. Everybody had flags on their cars. I just wish we can get back to that. And I don't ever want 9/11 to be forgotten, because you got to keep in mind, like, the civilians that died, the 3,000 civilians that died, the firefighters, the cops. Just think about that. Think about being a firefighter. Think about being a cop, or just a financial guy down, you know, in the financial district, and going to work that day, and then, you know, you turn around with coffee and you see a 747 coming at you, right? Or think about the guy that made the phone call, right? He said, "Jay Jules, I love you. It's not looking good, right? I'll see you on the other side." What the fuck? That's harsh, man. That's bad. That's not good. That's a hard thing. That's a hard pill to swallow. That's a hard thing to go through for anybody. Well, obviously. Think about being a firefighter. I'm chunky and out of shape to begin with. Imagine having all that gear on, right? And then you 90 floors up, and you're running up the floors, and you hear the steel start to bend, and you start to drop. Forget about it. You know what I mean? Think about being a cop, right? We can shoot, we can run and fight, but, you know, it's a little different. Think about running up in there, and you hear the steel, and you hear all that, right? And it's coming down on you. Heroes. Those guys are absolute legends, absolute heroes, and it's an absolute necessity that as Americans, we never forget that, especially us New Yorkers, a lot of us. We never forget them. Yeah. Well, that's the end of my little rant, guys. If you stuck around for it, comment down below, man. Let me know where you guys were at, what you guys think. You know, DM me on social media. Definitely want to keep talking to you guys about all of this. Means the world to me. Thank you for all the support, all the love. That's it. So, as always, guys, be safe. Please remember, watch your six.